most likely scenario, which we call Bafana Bafana, after our well-known high-performing soccer team, is the muddling through scenario. This is where the ANC prioritizes unity above all else. And the outcome of December 2017 is a compromise, where the party holds together, but at the cost of clear direction. So you still have this talk left, walk right kind of scenario. A party where, you know, it's like Bafana Bafana. They're not very fit. They don't play well together. They don't really have a captain. Yeah, they're not a very good team. ANC gets about 53% in the elections. This is the most likely scenario. The DA, about 28%. EFF, 12%. But the ANC loses Gauteng. And because it loses Gauteng in 2019, it loses its majority in 2024, and the future for the ANC is not a very bright future. In the nation divided scenario, I mean, South Africa grows under all three scenarios. We have significant growth potential. So none of these scenarios see South Africa staying in a recession. Growth rates under the least favored nation divided scenario is about 1.3% from now, on average, out to 2034. Under the nation divided, the ANC elect the traditionalists triumph. Early 2018, early next year, the ANC splits. Because Gauteng ANC has got nowhere to go. ANC splits, Gauteng ANC go off, together with the DA, they can then run South Africa, but the country takes considerable pain because the ANC dips significantly below 50% in the 2019 elections, and they are dependent upon a coalition to govern. Now, is that coalition partner smaller parties, or is it the EFF? The direction is the same, a more populist direction. We've seen that under President Jacob Zuma. But South Africa grows slowly. It grows, but it grows slowly under that scenario, and it takes pain before voters punish the ANC at the polling stations, and we head towards a more prosperous trajectory. The ANC loses support significantly. Mandela Magic is the third scenario. It's the high road. High road, South Africa grows at 3.3% on average to 2034. Our average growth rate since the Second World War is 3.4%. So we grow at our average growth rate. That is not good enough. We know we should be growing at 5 or 6%, but we'll come to that at a later point. Okay, Mandela Magic, the reformers triumph, and Cyril and his cohorts, whomever that is, drag the ANC, which Jacob Zuma have taken into a traditionalist direction, into the 21st century. The ANC stays in power and is able to regenerate itself until 2034. This is an ANC, this is a South Africa in which eventually the tripartite alliance no longer holds together. The ANC is free of the constraint of Labour on economic policy, because South Africa's economic policy was set by COSATU, and we can go about how that happened, the RDP, you'll all remember that. But the ANC, a relatively small liberation movement that came from exile, was dependent upon COSATU for, it was the only organization that had a nationwide structure and organization. And they set South Africa's economic policy, and the ANC have been captive of Labour setting economic policy since 1994. But COSATU is no longer what it was. Tripartite alliance is not what it used to be. And a reformist ANC which moves towards opening up the economy, bit of labour market flexibility, but a strong developmental state, not a big state, because if we leave it to the private sector, inequality and unemployment will simply increase. So, an ANC that is able to regenerate itself as an urban, relatively modern, multi-ethnic, maybe class-based organization, and that does well. That provides individual title hold in rural areas, and South Africa grows. South Africa, compared to 2016, in nation divided, the low growth forecast, where we grow at, I think it's 1.3%. For some reason, I can't remember that. Maybe you guys know. Economy in 2034 is about 30% bigger than it is now. It's dismal performance. In Bafana Bafana, the economy is about 50% bigger than it is now. In Mandela Magic, it's about 80%. None of these are big enough. South Africa needs to do much more. So the scenarios, the three scenarios, help us to think about the future. They're not predictions. They help to frame the discussions. And what it tells us is it talks about the path dependency in South Africa, and it points to the need for much more radical changes in South Africa.